the island kingdom of Númenor.
In the distant past, long before the lands of Gondor and Rohan rose to prominence, there was an island kingdom so magnificent that it rivaled the splendor of Valinor itself. Númenor, the land of the star, stood as a beacon of human achievement, a gift from the gods to men who had fought valiantly in the First Age. Its towering cities, advanced knowledge, and heroic rulers were unmatched in all of Middle-earth. But greatness often invites tragedy, and Númenor's story is one of hubris, betrayal, and divine wrath. Today we dive deep into the untold history of Númenor, its rise, its golden age, and the catastrophic downfall that changed the fate of Middle-earth forever. To understand Númenor, we must go back to the end of the First Age. After Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, was defeated in the War of Wrath, the Valar, the angelic beings who govern Arda, sought to reward the Edain, those faithful humans who had stood against Morgoth's darkness. As a reward, the Valar raised an island in the middle of the Great Sea, west of Middle-earth but far east of the Undying Lands. This island was called Númenor, and it was a paradise. Its lands were fertile, its coasts surrounded by crystal-clear waters, and its mountains soared high into the heavens. But the greatest gift the Valar bestowed upon the Númenorians was time. Unlike ordinary men, the people of Númenor were granted long lives, living up to 200 years, and their kings and queens even longer. At the heart of their culture was their reverence for Eru Ilúvatar, the one god, and their gratitude toward the Valar, who had guided them to this blessed land. They built their capital city, Armenelos, and their proud ships began exploring the seas. But even in these early days, the seeds of their eventual downfall were being sown. For centuries, Númenor thrived. Its people became masterful sailors, craftsmen, and scholars. They built vast fleets of ships, traveling to distant lands, including Middle-earth, where they shared their knowledge with the lesser men who lived there. The Númenorians were seen as a shining example of humanity at its peak, a bridge between the mortal world and the divine. One of the most legendary figures of this time was Elros, the first king of Númenor. Elros, the brother of Elrond, was of both elven and human descent. While Elrond chose to live as an immortal elf, Elros chose mortality and became the ruler of Númenor. Under his reign and that of his descendants, Númenor entered its golden age, expanding its influence and becoming a dominant power across the seas. The central symbol of their prosperity was the Menel Tarma, the sacred mountain at Númenor's heart. It was there that the Númenorians offered prayers to Eru Ilúvatar, maintaining their faith and humility. But as their power and pride grew, so did their desire for more. Over time, the Númenorians began to envy the immortality of the elves and resent the Valar for denying them the same gift. The slow corruption of Númenor began with its kings. While early rulers like Elros and Tar Aldarion governed wisely, later kings began to stray from the teachings of the Valar. They became obsessed with power and wealth, building monuments to themselves and amassing vast armies. They also grew increasingly jealous of the elves and their immortality, believing it unfair that the elves could live forever while men were doomed to die. This envy led to the division of Númenor's people into two factions, the faithful and the king's men. The faithful, led by noble families like that of Elendil, remained loyal to the Valar and upheld the old ways. Meanwhile, the king's men sought to break free from the Valar's influence and claim immortality for themselves. This division deepened over centuries, culminating in the reign of Ar-Pharazôn, the 25th and last king of Númenor. Ar-Pharazôn was a proud and ambitious man who sought to dominate all of Middle-earth and prove his power to the Valar. But his greatest mistake was allowing Sauron to set foot in Númenor. Sauron, who had survived the downfall of Morgoth, had grown in power during the Second Age. When Ar-Pharazôn learned of Sauron's influence in Middle-earth, he marched a massive fleet to capture him. Intimidated by Numenor's might, Sauron feigned surrender and allowed himself to be taken to Numenor as a prisoner. But this was all part of Sauron's plan. Over time, he used his cunning words to manipulate Ar-Pharazôn and the king's men. He convinced them that the Valar were their oppressors and that true power lay with Morgoth, the fallen Vala who had once ruled the world. Sauron even persuaded Ar-Pharazôn to build a great temple to Morgoth and begin human sacrifices, plunging Numenor into darkness. Under Sauron's influence, Ar-Pharazôn became obsessed with immortality. He believed that by conquering the undying lands of Valinor, he could seize the secret of eternal life from the Valar themselves. Before we continue with the video and my further explanation about the rise and fall of Númenor, I want to ask for your help. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of February, so I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and help me out. Let's continue. Ar-Pharazôn's hubris led him to make the ultimate mistake. Against the warnings of the faithful and the Valar, he gathered the greatest fleet ever assembled and set sail for Valinor. As his ships reached the shores of the Undying Lands, the Valar called upon Eru Ilúvatar for aid. In a single moment of divine wrath, the world was forever changed. Eru Ilúvatar caused the very shape of the earth to shift, sinking Numenor beneath the waves and breaking the world from its flat form into a globe. Ar-Pharazôn's fleet was utterly destroyed, and Numenor, the greatest kingdom of men, was lost to the sea. Only the faithful, led by Elendil and his sons Isildur and Anarion, escaped the destruction. They fled east to Middle-earth, where they founded the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor. But the legacy of Númenor's downfall would haunt Middle-earth for centuries, as Sauron's shadow continued to grow. Though Numenor was destroyed, its legacy lived on through its survivors. The faithful brought with them the traditions and knowledge of Numenor, establishing Gondor and Arnor as the last bastions of their once great civilization. The White Tree of Gondor, the mighty cities of Minas Tirith and Osgiliath, and even the line of kings that led to Aragorn were all remnants of Numenor's glory. Yet Numenor's fall also served as a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of pride, greed, and the corrupting influence of power. As Tolkien himself once wrote, the story of Numenor reflects humanity's eternal struggle between the desire for greatness and the humility required to wield it wisely. The tale of Numenor is a story of unparalleled beauty and devastating tragedy. It reminds us of the heights humanity can achieve and the depths to which we can fall when we forget our place in the grand design. In the end, Numenor's fate was not just a punishment, but a lesson, a reminder that even the greatest of kingdoms can be swept away by the tides of time if they lose sight of what truly matters: faith, humility, and the wisdom to accept mortality. And so, the island of Númenor, now lost beneath the waves, lives on in the hearts and minds of those who remember its tale. A golden kingdom, fallen but never forgotten. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and like for more videos like this. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to me. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you on the next one.